Hello and welcome back to my channel. And today I'd like to have here in this channel a comparison between three uh, TTRPGs that are based on D6s. Easy D6, Tricube Tales, and Tiny Dungeons. These three systems, they are good options for both uh, solo gaming or group gaming. They are great on what they do, and although they seems to be similar to each other, they have some kind of differences between them. And I thought that it would make sense to present these three systems to you guys because you might not know about them, or maybe you have one of them but are curious about the others. So the goal here is just to talk very briefly about these three systems, present the core rules for each one of these systems, talk about a little bit character creation, and just share my opinion. So let's start with Tiny Dungeon. Tiny Dungeon has its core mechanic called test. So every time that a player wants to attempt a complex action, the GM may require a test, and a test involves rolling 2d6, and you should roll 5 or a 6 in order to have a success. However, if the character has a skill that we call trait, the player can roll 3d6s because he or she has an advantage due to this trait or this talent that the character has. So if you have advantage, you roll 3d6s. If you don't have, it's just a regular roll, you roll 2d6s. But if something is not in your favor, you might have a penalty and roll with disadvantage, meaning that you would roll only 1d6. And you have a success if you roll 5 or 6. Basically, it doesn't matter how many 6s or 5s you roll. If you have at least one, it means that you succeeded. And the outcome of your action does not change as well if you have more successes in your dice pool. Another thing that is important to mention is that you do not roll more than 3d6s, and you are not allowed, of course, to do not have any dice to roll to, so you always have a way to roll some kind of dice. TriCoup Tales, it's similar but with some differences. In TriCoup Tales, the core mechanic involves the player to roll from 1 to 3 dice based on the character archetype, and depending on your archetype, some actions would fit better to you, and then you would have more dice to roll. But in addition to the dice pool, there is some kind of difficulty level that the GM can establish for an action, and this difficulty level varies from 4 to 6. And if the player roll at least one die, that 4, 5, or 6 that beats these requirement, the player has a success. However, if you have more than one success, you can have an exceptional success. But if you roll a 1, or if you are rolling 3 dice or 2 dice and you roll 2 ones, you have a critical failure. The players, they can change the difficulty by using a resource called Karma. And Karma basically is this resource that can be used to change the difficulty level, or sometimes it can be spent just to succeed automatically if it is a task that fits in your character description. Next in this list, the newest Easy D6 system. And this is actually the reason that I decided to make this video, because as I already have and already played Tiny Dungeons and TriCoup Tales, I said, okay, Easy D6 is just another option of a simple system, light rules that use D6. But actually, recently I acquired the PDF, and by reading the book, I just saw that I was wrong. Basically, this system is totally different from Tiny D6, and I thought that it would be great if I could just share my point of view now, because probably there are more people with the same mindset that I used to have. So in Easy D6, the core mechanic is basically you roll a D6 and you need to uh, beat the target number defined by the GM. In this case, it's called Rabble Rouser. Um, so regular task has a target level of 3. So if you roll at 1d6 and you beat 3, you succeed in it, and that's it. Um, but um, in some cases, when you have a training or an ability that could help you succeed on that task, you have a so-called boon. Um, so instead of rolling just one die, you roll two dice, and you get the best result from this roll. And the opposite happens as well. And you could have a bane if something is not in your favor. So it's very similar to advantage and disadvantage from Tiny D6, but there is no limitation on how much dice you have on your pool. So you might have 3, 4, 5 bones, and you would roll 6 dice in this case. So this is just one difference. Another difference that EZD6 has is there is this karma mechanic, not exactly as we have in TriCoup Tales. Here, the karma can be spent to increase the number of pips. I think he says pips on the book. It's basically you can increase if you roll a 4 and you need to beat 5, for instance, you can spend 1 karma and then your 4 becomes a 5. And similarly, if you need to beat 5 and you roll a 3, you just spend 2 karmas and then you have your 5 as well. So you beat the target number. So you can spend karma in this way. You do not reduce the level, but you can spend a karma to increase your rolls. In the same matter, there is another resource called Hero Dice that allows the player to re-roll any die that they want. So if a player rolls 3 dice, for instance, and he or she didn't succeed in their task, they could just spend the hero die and re-roll one of these dice. As far as character creation is concerned, on Tiny Dungeons, basically the players they just need to select a heritage, like a race. They choose 3 unique traits. Traits are the abilities that they have that it could give them advantage on some checks or tests, and they need to choose a weapon group to be proficient with, and a family trait and a belief. The core is the heritage, because the heritage gives the hit points that they have and some traits as well. And it's really simple to create a character in TriCube Tales. Basically, what you need to do is define your archetype. As I said, there are 3 archetypes: Agile, Brownie, and Crafty. And the Agile is basically the fastest one, and Brownie is the strongest one, and Crafty is the smartest one. And after that, you just define some perks and quirks. So perks are basically abilities that you have, and quirks are hindrances or something bad that your character has. And you receive karma when your quirk comes to play and brings something to the scene. So it's a really good mechanic to have these quirks in game. So these are some examples of characters for TriCoup Tales. just three things that should be defined, nothing else. So it's really simple. On ECD6, it's kind of it's simple as well. It has more options um, than Tiny Dungeons and TriCoup Tales. Basically, you have a hero path. It's basically the class. So you have warrior, you have warden, conjurer, uh, and other. I will show them. And then you choose a species. It's a race, a human, goblin, and so on. Then inclinations, and inclinations are kind of the skills, the abilities. Then you create two aspects, and aspects are basically the background of your character, and there is no list. You can just create from your mind, and everything together can um, form your character. And even the aspects that you are free to create by yourself can give you a boon uh, during the game session. But there is one aspect of this game that I think it's awesome, and it is the magic system. Because if you want to create a character that use magic, regular systems, you need to spend a lot of time choosing spells you want basically to create your spell list, right? But here, the only thing that they need to do is to choose a circle of sorcery, and there are some options here. And as soon as you choose your circle of sorcery, you are able to do whatever you wish with your power. So it's really simple. So in the end, I can say that there is no wrong choice here. These three systems are great options for your table. Again, for solo or group gaming, these are great options. These three systems, they have this simplicity in their core mechanics. It's easy to learn, it's easy to play, so there is no complexity in the end. Um, uh, ECD6 is a fast-paced game. It's really streamlined. Uh, the system allows for quick resolution, and keep the action flowing all the time. The hero dice and the karma mechanic from ECD6 gives more opportunities to the players to do some risk themselves more, because they know that they can change the results of a die, but so they feel more powerful. On the other hand, on Tiny Dungeons, it is more, I would say, lightweight system than ECD6, but the players, they cannot change the outcome in the end, so they roll and they succeed or not. This advantage and disadvantage mechanic, it's really simple to understand, and you use this mechanic in everything in the game, in the combat, in the actions, normal actions during the game. So it's simple. Easy D6 is focused on fantasy genre or fantasy theme at this moment. Uh, Tiny D6, on the other hand, has a lot of separate books for each setting. There is Tiny Dungeons, there is Tiny Wastelands, Tiny Frontiers, Tiny everything that you can imagine. There is a Tiny something. TriCube, on the other hand, actually is more, I would say, easy to adapt to any setting, because in the core rules, you already have a lot of suggestions on how to adapt the game for the settings, and it's simple because you only have three characteristics to establish during the character creation. So in the TriCube Tales, players have more agency because only the players roll dice. There is no GM rolling for GM does not roll for anything, only the players. And the systems focus on player-driven storytelling. So encourage collaboration among the players and so on. And this karma mechanic is very interesting together with this Kirk mechanic. So that's it. This is my opinion about these three systems three amazing systems. And as I said, I used to think that they are really similar, and they are similar, yes, but they are not the same system. They are different from each other, and I do not know how to explain these, but I had different experiences by playing each one of these systems. So if you are in doubt, if you need to, oh, I already have Tiny D6, should I have Easy D6, or I already have TriCube, should I have Easy D6 or whatever? I think they are different from each other, so I would strongly suggest you to have all of them. They are not so expensive as well, so you can buy them on DriveThruRPG. I'm going to put the link in the description for each one of these systems. So that's it. Share your opinion in the comment section, and that's it. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye bye.